This is Carlo. Welcome to part one of the After Effects tutorials. What we're going to try and do is do a series of videos explaining about After Effects, tips and tricks, what certain menus do, what certain effects do, so on and so on. This part one is basically we're just looking at the interface of After Effects at the moment, and what's what. What you can find, and basically part two would be starting with we're going to be starting with file, certain things, what they mean, and then we'll be going from to editing, composition, layer, so on and so on. So these videos, selection of videos, are basically for beginners, just to help you guys get a clear understanding of how you're going to start using After Effects, so on and so on. Okay, so when you first open up After Effects, by default you are presented with this lot. So you've got your project window here. Next to it you've got your effects controls, which all your effects will appear in. Then you've got your viewing window here, which your video will, or picture, or whatever you're working on, will appear. You've got your info of all your color grades, so on and so on. Next to it you've got your audio channels for your audio. You've got your preview window, which will be in charge of all your pre-rendering, so on and so on. Certain windows you'll use all the time, certain windows you won't. Then you've got your effects presets bar. This is where you'll find all your presets, but within After Effects there's multiple ways of looking for effects and presets. So you have pre-installed, or you've installed, i.e. plugins through certain third-party publishers. You've got your character windows, mainly for text. You've got your paragraphs, so how you lay out your writing, so on and so on. You have your timeline window here, and you have another project window, basically where all your bits and bobs will be laid out. And then next to it, what you have is your render queue, which is the last thing basically in After Effects that you will use to complete your project. Now if you go to file, you can come down, you can hit project settings, and this is basically where you would configure your project. So certain media you use in time, frames per second, time code conversion, so on and so on, but we will cover this in a later video. So all these windows here are totally modifiable, so you could literally say, for instance, you've got a second display, you can undock your panels and move your panels to a previous screen, or basically put it wherever you want within After Effects, or where you want to place it to suit your needs. But because we've removed this, automatically it's left us with our effects control panel up here, for instance, and that'll be singly on its own, because basically you've removed this. Now in order to put it back, all you're doing is come into Windows, Workspace, and then you're going to come up and you're going to reset standard, click on yes, and it will put things back to the way you have it as default. All these windows, as you can see, if you put your cursor on the line, are fully movable, so you can have these as big or as low as you want. So After Effects is fully customizable screen wise, or template wise. You can bring this down, you could bring it up, so you can have a little video here, so your video here. But usually the default settings in After Effects is actually the best way to work, so I would always stick with the default if you can. Okay, so let's just load a video very quickly. Let's get one, or let's just get a picture. Let's just get any picture. Okay, so when you open up a picture or video file, automatically by default it will place it in your projects folder, and then you'll be presented with an icon at the top here, basically telling you the picture size and quality. and you can actually come down to here. It'll tell you basically the file size, what picture format it is, or what video format it is, so on and so on. If you drag over, you're presented with where the picture or the destination of the picture is. So as you can see, this is under my pictures, so it's in my pictures folder, but you can easily hide that from there. Now down here is basically how you would add your composition or your projects to your timeline. Now here, for instance, is create a new folder. So say for instance you've got hundreds of, loads of different things in your project window here. You can literally, click on it, create a new folder, just call it test, and then from there you can drag, anything you want into your folder, just to keep your workflow a lot more tidier. You've got your recycling bin here to put all your rubbish. But if you get on your test, you can easily drag, say for instance you've got loads of files in here that you want in a single composition. You can just drag that down here and it will open it up automatically down here in your event window. So obviously you've got, the time, the frames per second of the clip, or normally the clips is obviously videos. There's going to be no time element because obviously it's just a picture, it's just a static picture. Here you've got basically your viewer, so you can switch things on and off. So for instance, if you're working with multiple layers and you don't want this one to get in the way, you could just literally switch that off here. And then along here you're presented with certain effects types. If you put your mouse over anything in After Effects, it will literally tell you basically what it is. For instance, motion blur, so on and so on. Here you have all your your parenting window. So basically, the more layers you got, the more images will drop down here. So you can use for sort of parenting, no objects, so on and so on. Okay, so just below here under the viewer window, which is called, you can scroll backwards and forwards with your mouse to enlarge or decrease the size of the view. It will not decrease the size of the actual image itself, but say for instance you want to work on a bit down here and you can't see it, you can easily zoom in and have a look at what you're working on. Just below the viewer window we have the size of the video or picture you're working on. So if you click fit, it will fit it exactly into scale or put it into scale. You have grid options. This is for mask paths, so this will highlight as soon as you create a mask. That will come on, it's all part of this. That will be in a later tutorial. You can take a snapshot basically of what you're working on. These are all your colors, and this bit here is the resolution or the quality you want to work in. So for instance, if you've got a low-end graphics card, you know to save the After Effects struggling, what you would do is you would reduce the quality, so basically your system don't lag or your project don't lag when you're working on it. You've got your region of interest, your transparency grid. This will work with roto brushing, so on and so on. So it will place it behind if you've got a couple of layers. That will be in the tutorial. Your cameras, if you're working with cameras, which also will be in a separate tutorial. Your view, so you can view in what angles you want, 4 views, single views, so on and so on. You have your pixel aspect ratio, your preview, so this is also to do with rendering options here. Timeline, composite in flowchart, your exposure, so you can reset your exposure, and basically the brightness of your exposure. You just click on that and it will set it, so on and so on. So over on the right, everything you do, even if I move sort of a certain point or do a certain thing with a color here with my mouse, the color will change. If you look at here to tell you what your red, greens, blues and alphas are. You have your preview window, which is going to be one of the most important things you actually work with for rendering, previewing, and preview RAM, so on and so on. Your RAM preview options, which we will go over this on a later date, and basically your effects and presets option as well. Anything you have, for effects, or anything you can find by just typing in simple abbreviations to look for what you were looking for. So for instance, if I was to type in elements, my elements plugins here, or you would be able to go to effects when you've applied it, video copilot elements, so on and so on. So that is part one, very, very quick and painless. Down here you've got your timeline numbers, how long the length of your video is, so on and so on, and also your drag to shorten or lengthen the clip you're working on. So for instance, if I wanted you to work just between 8 and 14 seconds, I can just drag this between 8 and 14 seconds. I can right click on it like that, and then I can play with all the bits and bobs to lengthen and shorten my clip within this piece here. So that's part one. I hope it's been of some interest. I'll see you in part two, when we'll be looking at compositing or your composition window. So I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace out.